Hello, today we're going to look at transposition of formulas. We need to, sometimes we're given a formula, but the variable we're looking at is in the formula, but isn't on the left-hand side of the equation, and therefore isn't the subject of the formula. We want to make it a subject of a formula. So let's suppose we had a pretty well-known equation here, which is P1V1 over T1 equals P2V2 over T2. There's no mystery in this, but supposing we wanted to make T1 the subject, T1. We want to make T1 the subject of this formula. Now what you need to do with transposition is actually quite simple, although it looks complex. What you need to do with transposition is to isolate T1 and get rid of all of the things around it, either side of the equation, to isolate T1. In this particular case, what we could do is to multiply both sides by T1. That would give us, if you multiply this by T1, if you multiply all of that by T1, we're going to get rid of the T1. So that gives us, so we say multiply by T1. You could have multiplied by T2, but this is a quicker way of doing it. Let's multiply by T1. So this multiplied by T1 becomes P1V1, and this equals P2V2 T1, because I've multiplied by T1, over T2. So, well, actually, we seem to have made T1 more complex. But let's go on now, and now multiply by T2. Now what happens here is we've got P1, V1, T2 equals P2, V2, T1. So far, so good. Now, the best thing we can do now is we want to get T1 on its own. There's the T1 we're looking for. We want that on one side of the equation. We want it on this side of the equation normally. It doesn't matter which side, but this side is where we normally put it. So what we could do now is to divide both sides by P2, V2. And if I divide that by P2, V2, the P2 and the V2 cancel out, and we end up with T1 over here, but we've got to divide this side also by P2V2, sorry. So we've got P1, V1, T2 divided by P2, V2. And the way we normally write that is T1, which is what we're trying to find, equals P1, V1, T2 over P2, V2. I hope that's clear and clarifies the situation. Thank you.